All right, welcome to part two of Reading with Ayo, episode 67. And it's still David and Josh here, when we're still talking about, Anxiety Eye, Volume 3, Embrace Your Strengths. Like I said, I'm excited about this book. I've read this book 4 times. I read it before it came out. I've read it 3 times, since it came out. I've gotten my daughter to read it, and we've had questions. And I think one thing that stands out to me, right? And I think it stood out to me more in volume 3 for some reason, because maybe I've just had, previous experiences of the book, and I've seen Counselor Austin come up so many times, right? And the way he helps the kids to get their best, right? The way he helped Niles, the way he helped Ruby to start, the club, the way he helped, he helped Sam in this episode as well, in this volume as well, was really, really motivating to me. And I just think all of us sometimes need a counselor or need a therapist or need a coach, and the importance of it, right? Because I always see some parents like, I don't want my kids to go through therapy. I don't want my kids to go through counselor, but I think it's so important because, and it stood out to me here. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why it stood out to me. But I wanted to ask you guys, why is it important? I'll start with you, Josh, as a, somebody that just left high school and you're in college. What's important? Why is it important to have somebody in your life that can help you, especially in the kid's life, outside of your parents, that can actually talk to you and give you great guidance?
I think when you're young, your mind is very malleable. So I think it's important to get outside opinions and influence besides just your parents. And I think that counselors and therapists are a really good resource for that, helping you work through problems from an outside perspective that doesn't have any impact on your life, I guess, because your parents are always very involved in what you do. But a counselor would be a third person perspective on your life, looking at your life through a window. And I think it's just really good to get an opinion from someone who has no stakes in it.
Yeah, and I like that. Yeah, and it's a great thing. Seriously, even at work, David, we have people like that at work. And even my work has one of our benefits is we have counselors, right? We have access to therapists. What's your thoughts, David? I want you to hear what your thoughts is.
I think sometimes life's hard and it's complicated and you have feelings and it's hard to deal with it, and stress and anxiety, and having people who are trained to help you. We spend so much time at work training people to do things and to be good engineers and to be good lawyers and to be good whatever. But we don't really talk a whole lot about what it is to be a person and a human and how our mind works. So I think it's sad. It's a sad narrative on our society that there's so much stigma around getting mental health help. And then that was important, I think, as we went through this, was to make the counselors really positive role models and positive resources in the books. And we did that on purpose because students need help, and just like adults need help. And, and these students go to this counselor, and this counselor is not judging them. He's not diagnosing him. He's just trying to help. And ultimately, that's just all they need sometimes, is someone to talk to and someone to give them a little bit of advice, a little bit of help, push them in the right direction. And hopefully the books, when people read them, they get that sense of, these counselors are really important. And we actually had Joshua's counselor from high school read the books when we wrote them and give us feedback on them. And we had certified therapists read the books and give us feedback on them. So we try to, incorporate real professionals into, how we wrote the books to make them, to make sure that we weren't doing wrong and we weren't hurting people, but at the same time, we were giving a good representation of what it means to be a counselor and what it means to be a student that needs help from a counselor.
Yeah, I like that. So, there's part of the book where Sam went to see Counselor Austin, right? Mm-hmm. And he gave her 3 hours, the 3 hours. And one is recognize, 2 is rein it in, right? And third is refocus. Mm-hmm. And I want you to talk about it, David, then I'll go to Josh, and how's that helped him if it has anyway. I'll tell you how it's helped me, but I want you to talk about it, Dave.
Well, I'm very much an overthinker. I worry a lot about things that are out of my control a lot. And going to counselors helps. But as we were writing this, it was like, she needs help because she's really focused on this past event and this trigger that came back up, and it's really eating at her self-confidence. And so we really need to give her something that the counselor can tell her to help her kind of reframe her thought process. So this isn't something we found in the book. We just kind of made it up. So it's really kind of simple. It's first thing you have to do is recognize what's going on. And that's kind of triggered by the feelings you get. It's that feeling of anxiety, that feeling of pressure. And when you feel those feelings, what are you going to do to kind of break that cycle? And the advice that we give is simply breathe and breathe deeply. And kind of once you've slowed your body's response down, then it's all about reining it in. And it's really about reining in those thoughts that kind of can go, crazy at times. That's probably not the right word, but they kind of get out of control, right? You always think about worst case scenarios as opposed to thinking about best case scenarios. So the rein in part of this process in the book is don't just think about the bad things that can happen. Start thinking about the good things that are come of this, right? And pick one of those things out and just visualize it coming true. And that continues to reframe how your body's reacting and your emotions and that. And then at the end, the third one is really refocus. And it's really to, focus on what can I do over the next minutes, hours, or days to kind of make that positive thing happen. So it kind of reframes the entire process. So that's kind of what it was about. It recognize you're entering this loop, and then stop it. And how do you stop it? And then how do you move in a different direction or refocus? So it's recognize, rein it in, and refocus. And that was simply how we did it. And I found myself using it all the time now. Because I get these feelings, and as soon as I get the feelings, I start thinking, well, I need to start breathing, and that helps me slow down and think about things. And then I realize I'm over focusing on negative, and I start focusing on positive, and it just helps. So,
yeah. Josh, how are you using it? Have you used it since you've written the book?
I haven't used it in the same scenarios he's talking about, but I also think it can be applied to motivation for and just in general. I feel if you recognize that you are distracted or not motivated, then I think in turn you can rein in your distracted thoughts and then refocus them towards something productive. So being a college student now, I've definitely had to do those 3 steps a lot when trying to get work done and not get distracted, hanging out with my friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I like it. Seriously, I'm an introvert. I'm an extrovert, but I actually started using it. So today I got into work and somebody asked me to do something, and it was I don't want to do this. How do I tell this person no? And I don't want to hurt the person. So what I did, I started overthinking a little bit, and I was you know what? I'm going to use the 3 hours. So I, recognized it. This was the issue. I reined it in, then I refocused, and I went to meet the person. So it's a good tool. Look, seriously, I will, think about it to anybody and have a conversation. I will recognize it, to recommend it. To anybody to use it. Just recognize what you're thinking when you're overthinking, when you're going to overdrive. Rein it in, bring it in, then refocus to the positive things that like you said, David. Just, I love that we talked about Cancel Austin, but the other thing I love that I saw in the book is Ruby, Niles, they were there for Sam. Mm-hmm. They were, when she was overthinking, they were positive words, even Mark. They were no, you be when Trent sent her a new introduction for her to say, Mark was there to inspire and say, hey, you got to be your authentic self. You beat me by being your authentic self. And they were, I think sometimes, because if you go to read Volume 1 and Volume 2, Sam was there for them like that. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people, what you give is what you get. I think because she has given that, she was able to get that too. And that was very motivational for me, seeing those people. Just so, what I'm saying is, it doesn't have to be a counselor sometimes. You can be a friend. Like there was a day was this some weeks ago, David, that I texted you about
Mm-hmm.
something I was going through, and you were there for me, and we just had a conversation, and it went well. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Why did you guys really talk about that? I wanted to just understand why is that important to put in the book?
Well, I mean, so in book one, so Sam is the rock for Niles, because Niles is struggling deeply, and she's the one that's there, not only helping him but pushing him a little bit, and you know, and they're such good friends that friendship kind of, you know, is really kind of what, you know, Niles has other support systems too, but that is a key support system for him. And then in book two, Ruby is struggling for different reasons, and then Niles and Sam are both there for her. So it only made, you know, to me, it only made sense was because one of the things that's great about introverts is relationships are super important to us, which most people don't realize.
Yeah.
And it's not quantity, it's really quality. It's those deep, meaningful relationships. And I think we try to show that is that you don't have to have 1,000 friends. You can have 3 or 4, and that's good and that's normal. And those 3 or 4 friends can be vital to your, you know, to your well-being. And this group of people made up of this core group of introverts, but we also have Mark and a couple other extroverts that are in the group. So it's 4 or 5 people who are really working closely together, and they get to the point where they're lifting each other up. And they're all not on top all the time, right? It's just like life. There are days when they're up and there are days when they're down. But when they're down, they can rely on their friends to come and help. And that's, you know, the in volume 2, it was subtitled "You Are Not Alone," and that's kind of a key piece of it. Is everybody realizing that even though I'm in my head a lot as an introvert, I'm thinking a lot in my own world, I still have these deep relationships outside of my head that can really help me. And you know, it's like going to a counselor. Those friends are, you know, they're there to kind of listen and to talk through things and to be that positive support when you don't believe in yourself.
Yeah, and they're good listeners too. Like introverts are good listeners as well. I've seen, and he actually showed in the book the way you guys wrote it. Those guys, you can, as I was reading it, I can see them listening. So I can picture it. So no, but thank you guys, and David, thank you for always being my friend as well. So this will conclude part 2 of this episode, and we'll come back to talk about part 3. All right, see you guys soon, right?
Thanks, Ayo.